everyone, so that's the qualifying session here for the sprint race for the Las Vegas Grand Prix here at the Red Arrows F1 League. It's Super Striker who'll be starting this one on pole, just under a tenth of a second ahead of Brandon. I will join him on the front row, so very close there between those two. Then we've got Cucumber and Archie there on the second row, half a second separating the top four drivers. Bo and Fake Scouser on row 3. Good to see Bo back. It's been a while actually since we commentated on Bo. Hasn't been here for the last two races. Young E, Nobby Vutnik, Jordan Hillier and Jay-Z completing the top 10 here for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Come on. Give it here, come on. Give it here. There we go. Alright. That's water, you can open that one. That one's only water, you can open that. It's water, it's not pressurised. You can open it easily.
Can you take that in for me?
Where? Where do you want it? Okay. We'll move out of the way then.
I've got to put that away.
Alright, I'm commentating on a race now, so leave me alone. Right. So here we are then guys, moments away from the start of the Las Vegas Grand Prix here on the Las Vegas Strip. You can see the MGM Grand Hotel in the background there, the famous scene of many a unfortunate event as well as some pretty spectacular ones, but nonetheless we should be moments away here from the start. It seems like we've just been held up a little bit longer. Sometimes you can find that the latency issues in the lobby do cause slightly extended hold-ups between the qualifying and the race. But it's just to remind you all, it's only the sprint race, so the Grand Prix itself, the main event, will be coming up after this as we're getting underway here for this formation lap. I believe it's a full formation lap here for the Red Arrows F1 League. So they're going to be doing a full tour. So drivers, it'll be pivotal here because drivers who don't do their tyre warm up properly on this formation lap will be the ones to suffer enormously over the course of the race. So it's really within your advantages or within your interests to make sure that you get those tyres warmed up properly here. So Super Striker, our pole man by only a tenth of a second, 99,000 to be exactly here, leading us around on the formation lap. Brandon will be, I'm sure, looking to try and put the pressure on early on. Looks like the whole field have gone for medium tyres here for this one, which is probably a no-brainer really, when you consider the length of the race, and obviously soft tyres would be eaten up after a few laps. Hard tyres would have no pace whatsoever. You find that the night air temperatures at this time of year, obviously the race set in November in real life at Las Vegas, and obviously being night time as well, you find that the desert has the most extreme variations in terms of temperatures. You find that at night time it's very cold, in the daytime it's scorchingly hot, but obviously being at night time here the temperatures are going to be quite low, so the medium tyres are going to be firing up much better than the hard tyres over the course of tonight. Could that be the case in the Grand Prix itself, as we're lining up on the grid moments away from the start of the Las Vegas Grand Prix here for the third to last round here of the Red Arrows F1 League for season 14. When the lights come on at the head of the grid, we'll know that we're locked in and ready to go, and moments away from the start of the sprint race here. And here we go. It's lights out, we're underway. And I think Brandon got a pretty good start there up the inside into turn 1. He's going to make that move on Super Striker. With Super Striker holding around the outside. He's going to try and make sure he can keep it there for turn 2, or turn 3 should I say, because turn 2 is almost off to turn 1 there. But Brandon there making a move, and up into the lead of the race he goes. There's Cucumber there right behind Super Striker. We've got Archie there, who's currently who's right on the back of Cucumber with Bro and Nobby Bootneck here. In hot pursuit here. We've got Fake Scouser there getting ahead of Nobby Bootneck there up into P6 around the outside. Sorry, up the inside, should I say. Nobby Bootneck now coming under pressure here from Jordan Hillier as well. So, yeah, Fake Scouser there's got himself up into P6 for the time being. But it's Brandon out the front here, less than a second at the moment. So, looks like the pack pretty close. Obviously, on the first lap, you wouldn't expect too much of a delta between them. But in the background, you've got Archie getting a bit out of shape there. And that might allow Bo just a little bit of confidence here in this battle for 4th and 5th places here. Archie, early on, just seemed to get a little bit loose coming out of that corner a few moments ago. But right now, Brandon settling into a bit of a rhythm here. The gap almost a second out the front over Super Striker at this moment. What time is it where you are? It's currently 8 p.m, just 8:30 p.m, just gone. Coming up to 9 p.m. But here we are then, we've got Cucumber very close on the back of Super Striker now. Is he going to have a chance here? He might fancy a move. No DRS on this lap, but obviously they're all going to have DRS anyway on each other by the time it does get enabled, because they're all within a second of the cars in front. Fake Scouser, I tell you what, has had an absolute cracking first lap here. Has moved ahead of not just Nobby Bootneck, but now Bo as well, and is up into 5th place here. So Fake Scouser has not been hanging around at all on this opening lap, and is carving his way through the pack in these early stages. So it's been a fantastic opening to the race here for Fake Scouser. As we see, we've got Jay-Z on the back of Jordan, and taps him in the rear there a little bit as they came through turn 1, but they're managing to keep it all together at the moment. But that was a close call there, as Jay-Z just was a little bit aggressive there on the back of the Williams. For the time being though, they're keeping it as they were. Jay-Z though looking to try and get closer to the back here of the Williams, but a little bit too far away. Obviously they all got DRS at the moment, and until one of these cars loses the DRS from the car in front, we're going to find that they're pretty much all towing each other along, and it's going to be very difficult to overtake. Once you've got a car who loses the DRS to the car in front, that driver will be extremely vulnerable to the cars behind. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it all develops. But for the time being, Brandon has got a slender lead here over Super Striker. Cucumber, Archie all keeping in close contention. Fake Scouser has almost dropped to over a second here behind Archie, so we've got to watch out Fake Scouser through this next DRS zone. Has he managed to hold on to the DRS, and will he be able to get that rear wing advantage here? I don't think he has. So I was saying that this isn't a DRS zone. The next part of the track is going to be a DRS zone, I think. So no DRS down here, is it? Oh, it should be. I'm sure this is the DRS zone. It is. There we go. So that's now Bo breezing past Fake Scouser, and Fake Scouser didn't have the DRS. So Bo there up into P5. I just forgot just how late the DRS zone is, or is down that straight. You go down half that straight. Oh, it's Youngie there. It's gone straight on onto the runoff area there. Missed his braking point completely. Has he got damage? I think he might have done. He hasn't rage quit. He's continuing on, but he's down to the last place here, down to P16. So Youngie there with an absolute nightmare on lap 2 of the race, but he's the only casualty so far from this pack of cars. All the rest of them are still pretty much running tight to the cars in front here. There's Murph down the inside of Hicklin. They're side by side. Hicklin trying to hold it around the outside there of turn 2. Into 3 we go, and Murph there just to keep ahead of Hicklin for the time being. But good racing there from those two for 13th and 14th places. As we go back to the leaders, we've got Brandon absolutely hassling the back of Super Striker right now. Only 0.3 of a second between these two at this moment in time. Super Striker though has been holding on to this lead since the opening lap. Obviously he was on pole by just under 1/10 of a second ahead of Brandon. I'll tell you what, these guys haven't been able to shake off Cucumber. Cucumber was about 0.3 of a second off the pole time in qualifying, but over the course of the first couple of laps has shown that he's definitely able to live with these guys. Super Striker and Brandon for the time being. Obviously Brandon will get the DRS on Super Striker, and is very, very close here. I'll be surprised if Brandon doesn't make the move through his next DRS zone. He's going to be very, very close and in contention to do so when he gets that rear wing open. As we're riding on board with the Haas car, here we go, DRS open. It's very late, the DRS zone on the straight. It's not for a very long, so didn't really get too much benefit there. He'll get another run though coming out of this chicane through towards the final corner into turn 1. So is that going to be a chance? And then also you get the DRS from turns 3 to 4 as well, which is going to be very beneficial for him for sure. Cucumber is closer to Brandon than Brandon is to Super Striker at the moment, and now Cucumber looking to the outside. into turn 1. Is he going to make this move? He can't make it happen there. Brandon holds it on the inside for the time being, and it might have just halted Brandon's progress here to try and get onto the back of Super Striker, as now you can see there Cucumber on the inside. Brandon, they will get the DRS and the slipstream off of the leader Super Striker. Super Striker's on the outside. Brandon's now on the outside into turn 4, and look at that, a lovely move there from Cucumber up the inside. Gets it stopped reasonably nicely there, and up into second place he goes. So Brandon loses out on P2 for the time being. Pete Scouse has had a nightmare there as well. Has dropped down from 5th down to 8th place. It's been passed by Archie, Nobby Bootneck, Jordan and Corey. Corey there making that move just as we were watching there. So Fake Scouser had a fantastic first lap, went from 7th to 5th place. He's now down to 9th place here in this race, which has really got a bit of a disaster there for him. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know whether they made a mistake in the first sector. Surely you would think that would be the case, as Brandon gets a massive bit of oversteer on that curb as he was trying to get the best exit he could coming out onto the straight. In the meantime, looking at the timing board, Fake Scouser is tumbling down the leaderboard. He's down to the back of the pack pretty much, apart from Youngie, who we saw having that moment on lap 2. So Fake Scouser has run into all sorts of problems. We're watching the battle for the lead at the moment, but Fake Scouser is going backwards here at this point. Archie's moved up into 4th place there ahead of Bo, so that's a move for position as well. But lots going on right now. Also, I want to shout out Clen, the champion of Purple Sector on Tuesday and Thursday nights, racing as a reserve here tonight. Didn't even notice you there, mate. But yeah, currently Super Striker out the front here, and he's currently hanging on to this lead. Cucumber and Brandon have taken it in turns to be the chasing driver in second place, but so far it's looking like Super Striker's got a hand on this, or got at least got it under control for the time being. Fake Scouse has now got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, as if things couldn't get worse, and he has in fact rage quit from this sprint race. So that is Fake Scouser out of the race, and any hopes of any points, which were quickly fading anyway, I think have now been extinguished entirely. But I'm sure he'll be back for the main race in a few moments' time, so stick around for that, guys, because that will be coming up after this. But Gertie in there posting the utmost rage bait there in the YouTube comments. But currently Cucumber here is about 6/10 behind Super Striker at the moment, as we saw him get a little bit out of shape there. We've seen a lot of drivers do that out of that corner. I'll tell you what, it seems like it's quite easy to get onto the power a little bit too early and get a bit loose. But for the time being, the 3 leaders staying as they are. No one's really putting each other under too much pressure at the moment. In the background here, we've got Bo now making a move on Archie, breezing past him to the outside, and he's going to make that move for 4th place. That's a role reversal from what we saw a few laps ago, and we saw Archie making a move on Bo in the same part of the track. As now we see Nobby up the inside of Jordan here. These two having a great battle as well, with Corey as well, who's right with them. So these 3 fighting out for 6th place, but Nobby there moving up into P6 in that one. Meldav as well has moved ahead of a Jay-Z up into P9. We've got Murph as well with Hicklin. So these 4 fighting out for 9th place. Plenty of battles wherever you look at the moment. It's difficult to know where to look really with so much going on. But we're going to stay with the leaders because that's the most consequential positions, and right now Super Striker is doing what he needs to do. Hasn't looked really under any pressure, hasn't looked like losing the lead at any stage. As we see now Nobby under pressure here from Jordan. Jordan a little bit too far back going into turn 4. That's in the background, there's the rest of them coming through the turn 4. Clen's dropped down to 13th place, not sure what happened to Clen there. But still beating a couple of drivers at the moment. It's a very, very hotly contested league. This is a really, really strong level, this league, for the Red Arrows F1 league. This is tier 1. For those of you who don't know, this is a multiple tier league. So obviously the drivers you see here are some of the best on the F1 game. And currently we've got Super Striker, who is trying to pull out this gap here to Cucumber and Brandon. So can Brandon put some pressure here on the back of Cucumber for 2nd place? Seems to be a bit closer to him than what Super Striker is. As Jordan here has moved ahead of Nobby, and Nobby might be under pressure here from Corey, who's looking to the outside. Is Corey going to go on the outside? He is. He makes that one stick beautifully there, up into 7th place. Jordan is up into P6, as we can now see Murph has squeezed ahead of Jay-Z there. And look at that, wow, Jay-Z's managed to muck both of them there. So Murph have got the move done on Jay-Z. Jay-Z then got the cut back. Now Hicklin's moved back ahead of Jay-Z. What a fight this is for P9 here, P10 should I say even. What a fight we're seeing here. So Hicklin back into that points paying position there. These guys are swapping positions left, right and centre at the moment as Murph looking up the inside. He hasn't really got the momentum there on the inside, although he swooped around the outside of turn 3 anyway with a phenomenal move there. And Murph has moved up into 11th place again. So what a bite this is. It's bought Hicklin a bit of time there to pull away ever so slightly in that point paying position. He's about a second and a half behind Meldav at the moment, but what a great battle that is going on at the moment. In the meantime though, here are the leaders. Super Striker, Cucumber and Brandon. These guys separated by less than a second as they have been since the very opening lap here at Las Vegas. Now, what can Cucumber do here to put the pressure on Super Striker? Super Striker, it's going to feel like he's got a lot to lose here. He's been leading this entire race up to this point. It'll feel like a bit of a robbery if he doesn't win this one now. He's got to be feeling a little bit of pressure at this point, you would think, surely. We're running on board with Brandon here, third place driver. Cucumber very close there, coming into the chicane, a little bit too far away. Had a little look there, was thinking about it. Gertian says waiting for a last lap move. I wouldn't be at all surprised, Gertian, if you're right, because Cucumber's breathing down the neck here of Super Striker. Here we come then through the final corner. He's got a bit of a run, no DRS through this part of the track. Is he going to wait, be patient and play the strategic game, knowing the DRS is going to be open between turns 3 and 4? Is he going to be able to stay close here, because it's a really tricky corner where a lot of downforce is required, so when you're following close to a car behind, it can be very difficult to keep that gap close as it is. But Cucumber nonetheless now with DRS, and this is going to be the lead going for Super Striker. I think it may well be, not quite. Once again he just holds on there by the skin of his teeth. I think Cucumber was almost within a car length there and was probably about 50 metres away from being able to send one down the inside, but Super Striker clings onto that one once again. So this is Cucumber now knowing that he's running out of time here in this race, running out of miles to make this move. And yeah, the clock's ticking. He needs to get on with it here, this Cucumber, if he wants to win this sprint race here tonight. Obviously this is only the sprint. We've got the main Grand Prix coming up after this, but this one a third of the distance of what we're going to see in the Grand Prix. Grand Prix I believe will be 27 laps, something like that anyway. But Gertian says if he can, he will wait until lap 9. Yeah, because you don't want to be giving the DRS to Super Striker, especially because Super Striker seems to have good straight line speed here. But here we go then. Cucumber now is going to have a look. Is he going to make a move to the inside into the chicane? He backs out of it. So Gertian, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. He literally backed out of it as he was coming into the braking zone. So I think you're absolutely right. You could hear him easing off about 300 metres before the corner. So I think that says everything you need to know. But here we go then. We've got all of them very close here. It's Cucumber now to the outside. Now Brandon to the inside. Brandon backs out of it as Super Striker holds it on the inside. Cucumber's going to try and go all the way around the outside of turn 2. And he's going to have the inside for 3. Super Striker keeping the momentum there around the outside. He's going to have the better exit onto the straight down towards turn 4. Who's going to be coming out on top in this one? It's Cucumber now. It's going to tuck back into the slipstream. Now he's going to pull to the outside with the DRS open. Cucumber hits the front here, but Brandon's looking down the inside of Super Striker as well. Super Striker could be able to lose 2 positions in one lap here as Brandon trying to make it another move here on Cucumber. Trying to run the outside here of turn 5. What an incredible move there from Brandon, taking the lead of the race on the final lap of the race. What a sensational pair of overtakes there from the Haas driver, and he looks like he might have nicked it here. He's got a 6/10 gap here as we're coming towards the final DRS zone in a few moments time. I think Brandon might have just won this race here with that move. What a fantastic overtake that was. A few corners left to go here at Las Vegas. Brandon, I think, has just won the sprint race here. Cucumber in second. Super Striker, the driver who's led the entire race until this final lap, seems like he might have to settle for third place here. Only 2 points lost, I suppose. It's only a sprint race, but even so, he'll feel absolutely robbed after that as we now come down towards the final chicane for the final time here in this sprint race. And Cucumber's looking to the outside. He's going to try and go all the way around Brandon here. Is he going to make this one stick? He goes a little bit wide there. Brandon gives him the space. Very clean racing here between the two of them. Bit of contact there. Cucumber there's going to get overtaken by Super Striker, but Brandon here is going to come through the final corner, and surely he's going to hold on here. Super Striker's reeling him in up towards the line, but Brandon holds on to take the win ahead of Super Striker in second. Cucumber over to complete the podium with Archie fourth. Bo comes over to take P5. Corey will be 6th place here, just ahead of Nobby Bootneck in 7th, with Jordan Hillier over in 8th place. Meldav coming around the final corner here. It's going to be 9th place here for Meldav, with JC over in P10. Murph in 11th with Hicklin 12th. Those three continued their battle all the way to the final lap Clen's going to come around in 13th, had a Quimo 14th, and a bit of a gap to Youngie, who we saw having that major moment there on the second lap of the race, and unfortunately wasn't able to recover from that. So Youngie will take P15 here in this race. Obviously Fake Scouser retired a long way out, knowing that there was no points on the table here. But what a fight that was for the race win there on the final lap of the race. I bet Super Striker's gutted with that one, having led 90% of that race near enough, but that is the way the cookie crumbles. So Brandon and Super Striker and Cucumber there, top 3. Archie in P4 ahead of Bo, completing the top 5. Corey, Nobby Bootneck and Jordan completing the points paying positions. Only the top 8 get points in a sprint. So Meldav and Jay-Z didn't get points in 9th and 10th. Then we got Murph in 11th with Hicklin 12th. Clen over in 13th. Quimo 14th and Youngie rounding out the classification there in 15th place. Getting absolutely horrified to see a H2O type substance falling upon the track here. I don't know whether it's going to be sticking around or whether we're going to see it drying up over the course of the race, but this to me definitely looks like it's going to be intermediate tyres for this qualifying session. But let's see. Could be a very different order from what we saw in the sprint a few moments ago. Looks like Corey's already been into the wall, so it's not going to be Corey on pole here for this one. Guardian praying for rain here by the sounds of it. Hicklin says he hasn't put a setup on, which could be good if it's a dry race. If it's a wet race, then I think you might be in a bit of trouble. There you have it then. So that is the wet qualifying session done. Cucumber putting it on pole there. And the top 3 there, Cucumber, Brandon and Archie, well ahead of everyone else. I think Super Striker's gone for a dry setup. But yeah, big gaps here. Clen up in P5. Big shout out Clen. Purple Sector Racer from Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah. Top 3 though in a league of their own.
was just starting to get unpressed in here, so.
So interestingly here, it looks like Brandon has gone for the hard tyres, starting on the front row. Jordan, Jay-Z and Bo have also gone for the hard tyres. Alright Gertian, I'll catch you later. Yeah, Youngie's also gone for the hards as well as Corey. So yeah, a few drivers on the hards here, but most of them on the mediums. But it is a real mix-up here. I mean, there's no overwhelming majority on one tyre. It's certainly a bit of a mix here. So here we go then, moments away from the start of the Las Vegas Grand Prix here for the Red Arrows F1 League. Here we are, when the lights come on, we'll be racing here on underway for round 10 of 12 here for the Red Arrows F1 League Season 14. It's lights out, we're underway. And this time it looks like Cucumber got a better start than Brandon. Into turn one we go, as Cucumber's going to surely cover him. Brandon looking up the inside there, but Cucumber covers him off for the time being. We've got Archie there staying in third place. Super Striker looking to put the pressure on here early. We've got Glenn there staying ahead of Bo in P5, so he's done a decent job here in these first few corners. But Super Striker has gone ahead of Archie already up into third place as they come down towards turn 4. So that's job done there for Super Striker into the podium places. As you're looking at the background here, we've got a bit of a battle going on. Meldav there down the inside of Jordan and moves himself up into P10. So Jordan down to P11 here on this opening lap, but it is Cucumber out the front here by just under half a second here ahead of Brandon at this moment in time, as Super Striker here will be looking to try to pile the pressure on here. I would have thought Super Striker's gone for a more dry setup than the others have, because he was a little way off for the pace in qualifying a few moments ago compared to Cucumber and Brandon. We're not quite sure what that was, why that was at the moment, but hopefully for his sake we see him in the mix here. But yeah, Super Striker not quite on the pace of the lead pair in qualifying. But nonetheless, we see Cucumber just ahead of Brandon. Brandon having a little look here to the inside, down the end of the long straight, into the chicane. But he's under pressure from Super Striker as well. No DRS, obviously. The DRS will be open on the next lap. But for the time being, they're all staying as they were. As here comes Glenn. Look at this. Glenn is looking on the back of Archie through the final corner and has made that move up into 4th place. So Glenn has had an electric start here to this race. He's really been on form in these opening lap, I guess, as Brandon there has made a move here, but he's gone a little bit deep, and now Cucumber looking to try and get the cut back here. Cucumber's looking to the inside there as they come out of turn 3, but Brandon here with the momentum And holding on to P1 for the time being. Cucumber though with DRS is going to move up into the lead, and now Super Striker's going to make it 3 wide there. He backs out of that one very sensibly to Super Striker as Cucumber then makes the move up into the lead of the race. So that's job done now. And these two swapping and changing right now. Brandon on his hard tyres though is doing a fantastic job here in the opening couple of laps. You wouldn't think he'd have the pace that he's got on those hard tyres compared to the medium runners, especially when the track temperature probably isn't that high. But he's doing absolutely brilliantly at this moment, it has to be said. So Cucumber still just ahead of Brandon and Super Striker at this point. Super Striker though now to the outside, has the slipstream here and the DRS. He has nowhere to go and has to back out of it there, had to get out of the throttle massively as Cucumber there has now got him down the inside. Super Striker might be able to make this move, he has to give the space there to Cucumber. I'll tell you what, Super Striker managed to make that move stick beautifully there up into second place. He's now going to have the slipstream here off of the leader Brandon as they come through the final corner once again. Is Cucumber close enough to make a move to turn 1? No, he's not. What the thing is though, they're all going to have DRS on each other down the long straight towards turn 4. But look at this, every driver all the way down to 13th place is now 14th is within the DRS of the car in front. This is a massive train of cars here, all the way from 1st down to 14th place. Incredible to see, as we've got potentially a move being shaped up there, as we saw. Jay-Z was pretty close. Oh no, Cucumber's made a mistake. What's happened here to Cucumber? Has he got damage? He's just had, I think he must have gone into the wall there going through turn 4. He's down to P9. He was in that battle for the lead with Brandon and Super Striker just a few moments ago. What on earth has happened here to Cucumber? That is an absolute disaster there. Has he got damage? Let's have a look. Doesn't look like it. So it must have just been a bit of a to-do. Maybe some very small contact there. But nonetheless, Cucumber now down to 9th place, is in the wars a little bit here in this mid-pack. Brandon and Super Striker still out the front, although Super Striker's dropped off Brandon by almost a second here, so could be vulnerable to Archie if Archie can get his skates on a bit here. These guys, these top 3 are about a second and a half clear of Bo at the moment, so Bo's dropped out of this fight here for the lead. But Brandon on his hard tyres doing an absolutely fantastic job here in the opening couple of laps here at Las Vegas. Super Striker and Archie, you would think on his medium tyres would be trying to push them whilst they're at their best, but Brandon is currently doing the business right now as we come over the line here to complete lap 3 of the race. Archie there with the fastest lap of the race there in P3. There's Bo ahead of Glenn with Jay-Z, Youngie, Murph there in 8th ahead of Cucumber, now down to P9 after that whatever it was that happened there on that previous lap. Goodness only knows, but a long way to go here in this race as we see Super Striker having a look to the inside on Brandon, but too far away there going into turn 4. Cucumber has now picked off one driver here. He's picked off, or has he, because Murph's keeping it there. And yeah, Murph there unable to keep Cucumber behind him. Cucumber now up into 8th place, can now start to chase down Youngie there. We can see the Red Bull in 7th place. Youngie having a much better Grand Prix than what he had in the sprint race. Obviously the sprint race went horrendously wrong. Ended up taking to the escape road at the end of lap 2 and never came back from it, but right now running in P7, so he'll be hoping that can stay. It can stay that way for the rest of the race. As Super Striker here getting closer to the back of Brandon. He's now going to look to the outside here. Is this going to be a move here? It's going to be Super Striker breezing around the outside up into the lead. Great move there from him. We see Bo there in the background. We got Youngie there looking down the inside of Jay-Z. Is he going to make this move stick? No, he goes actually a little bit out of shape there as his Youngie. And Corey is out of the race, so Corey's binned it, I think, somewhere. Looks like the yellow flags are not going to be an issue here. And wow, Cucumber there managing to mug Jay-Z and Youngie up into P5, managing to beautifully skip up the inside there, staying out of all the trouble. Clen's dropped down to 8th place here in all of that. But Cucumber here making light work of the traffic in front of him. Now he can try and chase down the leaders. Bo running in no man's land in 4th place, so Cucumber has got to catch up and pass to Bo, and then he can try and chase down these 3 leaders of Brandon, Super Striker and Archie. But right now, these three have got it amongst themselves here. Super Striker, though, on the medium tyres, would much rather be up the road here from Brandon, because Brandon is going to have a much more advantageous strategy for the rest of this race. His hard tyres will be improving in relation to Super Striker and Archie's over the course of this stint. He'll be able to go longer in the race, and he'll have faster tyres in the final stint as well. So Brandon's got a lot of advantages here, being in the situation that he is right now. So Youngie here getting close to the back of Jay-Z. Is he going to look to the outside? He's going to try and go around the long way here. In the meantime, I'm noticing on the timing board that Super Striker has got around Brandon into the lead, which he needed to do. We were saying before, he needs to make that move on those medium tyres whilst his mediums are still in good stead. But there we go then. So that's Youngie there into P6. Super Striker though out the front with a slender lead here over Brandon. Brandon though is going to try and come back at him here down towards turn 4. I think he might be a little bit too far away. Super Striker had a better exit there. I'll tell you what, look at the straight line speed from the Haas car here of Brandon. But Super Striker there goes late on the brakes. The medium tyres there giving better grip on the braking and holding on to the lead there as they go into turn 4. So Super Striker there did really well on the brakes there. Was pretty brave, I have to say. Was pushing it to the limit there. And with that wall on the outside, you really are playing the risk there, using those late braking manoeuvres. As in the meantime, we got Youngie and Jay-Z still fighting it out over 6th place. They got Murph, Glenn, Hicklin and Nobby Bootneck in hot pursuit as well here. So this is a 6-car train here, batting over P6 all the way down from 6th to 11th, being led by the Red Bull driver Youngie, having a much better outing here in this Grand Prix than what he did in the sprint race a few minutes ago. As there are these 6 drivers currently running in well, some of them are running in some good points, others are scoring nil points. That can be the nature of such close racing here. A couple of seconds here of clear of Jordan, who's not having the race that he had in the sprint. That's got to be said, as we see Nobby there going to the outside of Hicklin. He's going to try and go around the outside into the chicane. Bit of contact there between them as Hicklin tried to hold his ground, but Nobby there swoops around the outside into the points. Lovely move there from Nobby. Youngie's almost got the gap over a second here to Jay-Z, so might be out of a threat from this train of cars. He could start reeling in the leaders ahead, maybe, if he's got the pace to do so. But he'll certainly be without the distraction from behind if he can do that. So you see Meldav there getting a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's going to be a massive ball ache there for him when we get to the end of this race. Is he going to come in and serve it, or is he just going to have it added on to the race time? We'll have to see. In the meantime though, the 2 leaders have pulled away from Archie. They've got now 3 seconds over the Salva. Super Striker and Brandon here still fighting it out. 0.2 of a second between them. Brandon there looking racy as hell on the back of Super Striker at the moment on his hard tyres. Super Striker hasn't really been able to capitalise on these medium tyres, because the medium tyres on paper should have been a lot quicker than these hards over this first stint, but he got caught up behind Brandon in the first few laps, ended up overtaking him, but Brandon has been able to keep up with the DRS. We know how strong the slipstream is around this Las Vegas strip circuit, as Super Striker keeping it on the inside through the chicane. Brandon couldn't go around the long way there. Bit of a twitch there from Brandon. Needs to keep it together here. He needs to avoid mistakes like that, because as long as he can keep himself within DRS as Super Striker, he's playing himself into a beautiful position here in this race. But little mistakes like that could have had a much bigger impact. But so far, Brandon keeping it close here to the leader. Jay-Z here looking to the inside of Murph into turn 1, a little bit too far away as Murph there misses the apex a little bit. Glenn still just ahead of Nobby Bootneck in this fight for 9th place. And Jay-Z there getting ahead of Murph, breezing past him down the back straight up into P7. But Glenn still keeping Nobby at bay in this fight for 9th place. Super Striker still leading the race, but not by much at all. Brandon is breathing down his neck at the moment. So what can Brandon do here with the race leader? Is he just going to stick with him here because he knows that he's got that ace up his sleeve? Or thing is though, the hard tyres at this point in the stint probably might have the edge over the mediums now. So Super Striker will be wanting to hold him up as much as he can. Brandon will be wanting to clean air and try and pull away before we get to the pit stops. How's Brandon going to play this one here? Going down towards the final corner, has a little look there, trying to distract Super Striker a little bit. I don't think that's really a worthy cause there, but looking down the inside into turn one, a little bit too far away at the moment. So we see in the background here we've got Bo and Archie fighting over third, and Bo's moved into the podium places. So now Mark Bo running in third place. We got in the background there the Aston Martin of Nobby all over the back of Glenn into turn one, but a little bit too far away to make that move. He's going to have a look on here coming down the down the long straight towards turn four, you would think. Looks like they're all just holding position for the time being here. That's Brandon here, still within half a second of Super Striker at this point. He's looking really close here as Brandon now. Is he going to have a chance to send one here? He's just been keeping close tabs on the leader over the last few laps as Brandon. He led the first few laps on those hard tyres, but seemingly has just been settled behind Super Striker. Super Striker's mediums are going to be starting to feel the pace a little bit at this point. As Brandon now looking to the inside there, but just a little bit too far away at this point. Archie still too far back on Bo. We've got Nobby there moving ahead of Glenn up into 9th place. That's job done there for Nobby Bootneck. And Glenn were there with a 3-second penalty, so that's now Glenn and Meldav with 3-second penalties in this race. Only 2 drivers so far. It's a full foul of the race director. So here comes Brandon then, all over the back of the race leader, but a little bit too far away at the end of the DRS zone. Claire now into the pits, first driver to come in off the mediums for a scheduled stop, I think, or maybe Meldav might have been actually, you know, because Meldav put his on 2 laps ago. Obviously Fake Scouser came in on the first lap, that was not for a scheduled stop. As Super Striker there seemed to really be struggling going through that left-hand bend. Seemed like he was struggling to get the car turned in initially, and then once the car did turn in, it seemed like he was struggling to keep hold of it. So maybe Super Striker's tyres starting to going, but it seems like he's stuck in an awful compromise between understeer and oversteer. Now Brandon's going to have DRS, and surely is going to be able to make this move here. You'd think that being as close as he is, this should be a routine move, and it is a routine move, and Brandon has passed him before we even get to the DRS zone. So Super Striker really struggling on these tyres now, and is he going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap? You would think surely he'd be at least thinking about it, as Brandon there round the outside into the chicane, and is up into the lead of the race. So what's Super Striker going to do now? Surely he's going to pull the trigger and get himself in, go for an undercut on some fresh hard tyres. What's he going to do? No, he's staying out. He is staying out, so he wants to try and, keeping the DRS, prevent Brandon from pulling away by maybe making a DRS move into turn 4 potentially. So Brandon on the hard tyres definitely has got the advantage at this stage. Super Striker will have DRS, but he's too far back to make a move into 4, so Brandon's got this lead. Now is his chance to maybe seize a bit of a moral upper hand here. As the gap continuing to go up, obviously Brandon's tyres in much better state than Super Striker. Super Strikers, well, they look shot to pieces this time a lap ago. God knows what they're like now. It's right on board. But yeah, those medium tyres are absolutely falling off the cliff here. as Brandon is now skating off into the distance here. So Super Striker's got to go for the undercut here, but maybe the hard tyres are better around this circuit. Maybe they're a lot more confidence building than what we see from the medium tyres, so we could be seeing the pendulum swinging here in the favour of Super Striker in this second stint. We have to see. Some tracks the hards are quicker even over the length of a medium stint, of a reasonable medium stint. The hards can sometimes be the quicker tyre. As we see, Bo there's moved ahead of Archie up into third place. Cucumber's still right there with these guys, but these three are well out of the battle for the lead here as Super Striker's into the pits. No surprise there, but Archie also in and Cucumber staying out. Cucumber staying out on his mediums. Going to go for a 12th lap here on these tyres. He's going to go for a bit of a delta here over these other guys. We saw a few drivers coming in on the previous lap before that. Corey's out of the race. Corey's crashed. So now where has Super Striker come out? Super Striker's come out just behind Murph, as he's now going to have DRS, is he? So Super Striker there moving ahead of Murph up into P6. So Super Striker the highest of the drivers who have pitted so far. Hicklin came in a few laps ago. That'd be a long stint to get to the end on those hard tyres. Clen came in a couple of laps ago, running in P11, couple of seconds behind Hicklin, has fresher tyres. Should be able to reel that gap down. Archie's come out just behind Clen, but on fresher tyres, so is Nobby Bootneck. So Archie and Nobby Bootneck a fair way behind Super Striker actually. Actually a very long way behind Super Striker. And they've all pitted. So Super Striker in a good position. Oh, it's Murph has had a moment. Murph on those 12 lap old medium tyres has had a spin, and that just goes to show how much the medium tyres are struggling now. So I'm sure we're going to see Cucumber in at the end of this lap. Fate Scouser also has had his medium tyres on for a little while now, but Cucumber there, no surprise, we see on the inside lane there going into the final corner, going for the pit lane. So Cucumber's going to be putting some fresh hard tyres on, and it's going to have a very small delta, but I hazard a guess that staying out an extra lap on those shot mediums is going to probably cost him more than 12 laps on some slightly fresher hard tyres compared to his competitors. So yeah, I don't think that's really worked out for him. So Super Striker I think will be the net leader at this point, but Brandon will have faster, fresher tyres in this final stint. So Super Striker will come out a few seconds ahead of Brandon, but that will not be race over, because Brandon, as we say, will have those medium tyres, the faster. Be a bit fresher to start off with. By the end of the race though, Super Striker's tyres will probably be matching him, maybe even be a bit quicker than his if the first stint's anything to go by. It seems like after about 10 laps the hard tyres are considerably faster than the mediums. So when does Brandon decide to come in? Is he going to stay out on his hards as long as he possibly can? As Clen is all over the back of Hicklin now on his fresher tyres, 3 lap fresher as Clen. He's going to be going for a couple of points here in this race, currently challenging for 9th place as it stands. He's got a penalty which could cause him a bit of pain by the end of the race if he isn't able to clear ahead of Hicklin by the end of the race. He's going to have DRS down this straight once we get to the DRS zone. So here we go then. Clen's going to now power past Hicklin without any issues there up into P9. Nicely done there from the purple sector F1 League champion. But out in front, Brandon 8.5 seconds clear of Bo at this point. And obviously both of these two still yet to pit. Bo definitely out of the fight for the win. Youngie running in 3rd place, not too far behind Bo. Definitely on course for some good points as things stand. Jay-Z also still yet to pit. So is Jordan. And Quimo as well. So those guys have all still yet to pit. Everyone else has been in for their mandatory tyre change. So as it stands, Super Striker the net race leader, but that could all change in the last few laps depending on what sort of delta Brandon has got with tyres, and whether he can keep his mediums intact and working well right to the checkered flag here. It's going to be a fascinating battle to the flag here between Brandon and Super Striker, that's for sure. But Super Striker trying to get these laps down, trying to pump in the times whilst he can here with these fresher tyres, whilst he's got this delta to Brandon, and Brandon's in the pits. So Brandon's going to have to do 11 laps on the medium tyres. We saw that 11 laps was the limit without completely killing them in the first stint, but that was with heavy fuel loads. This is with much lighter fuel load, so it might be a bit easier for Brandon to get these tyres the distance. But Super Striker will move ahead of Brandon into what is the net lead, because both still got a pit for the mediums. So Super Striker's gap to Brandon, only 3 seconds to be fair, it's not much at all. Less than I thought it would be. So Brandon on fresher tyres, 3-lap fresher tyres compared to Super Striker's. His tyres are going to wear out a bit quicker than Super Striker's. I would have thought in maybe the last 2 or 3 laps that we might see a crossover in performance, and Super Striker's tyres might be a little bit better in the final couple of laps of this race compared to Brandon's. But at this point, Brandon's going to have a considerable pace advantage over the Mercedes. This Cucumber here is all over the back of Jay-Z in this fight for 4th place. You can see he's got the DRS now. Oh, he will do in a second. There we go. It's coming on now. There we go. Cucumber then move up to 4th place. Had the move done basically before we even got to the zone there. Archie is also going to follow him through up into P5. JT down 2 places there as they go into the chicane. The nature of a close fought battle in a DRS zone, I have to say. If you're the lead car with 2 cars within half a second of you, you're going to lose 2 places. It's not really any discredit to Jay-Z there, as Bo is now in the pits to make his one and only pit stop there. Onto the medium tyres. The gap between the top 2 came down about 7/10 of a second on that last lap between Super Striker and Brandon. But over the course of this stint, I'd say the advantage that Brandon's got will be a bit less each lap, but he should be within DRS long before his tyre advantage peters out here, so he'll get a chance to probably make the move. But then I would predict Super Striker will probably come back at him in the final couple of laps. If he can keep the DRS as well, this could be an absolutely fantastic battle here between these top 2. Super Striker's just got to keep him at bay for as long as he can here, because I reckon Brandon's going to have about a half a second a lap delta on him by the time he's able to make the move, which is probably enough around this track to get an overtake done. But then obviously, as that advantage peters out, Super Striker will have a chance to come back at him in the final few laps of the race. But for the time being, it is Super Striker leading us around this Las Vegas strip circuit. We've got Bo there moving ahead of Jay-Z up into P5 on the fresh medium tyres. Bo's got 3.5 seconds ahead to Archie, and Cucumber's only half a second ahead of Archie here. So Bo's certainly in with a good chance of a podium here. I'll be surprised if Bo isn't on the podium at the end of this race, to be perfectly honest with you. So Jay-Z's picked up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which is, I don't think what he would have wanted. Riding on board with Brandon here, he's now well within DRS here of Super Striker. Super Striker's got to make his car as wide as possible, try and be as much of a nuisance as he possibly can here to the leader. Or rather to the second place driver, should I say. Although he could be the leader in a second. Here we go then, Brandon in a slipstream. He's going to have DRS as well in a few moments' time. It's going to surely be the lead here for Brandon. Super Striker's got to try and keep himself close here for the next few laps. But here we go. This is the lead of the race here for Brandon on his medium tyres. Into the chicane we go. The lead change hands here in Las Vegas. Now Brandon's got to try and take this race by the scruff of the neck and pull away from Super Striker whilst he's got this tyre advantage. If Super Striker can stay in the DRS, he'll have a fantastic chance in the final couple of laps when his tyres will be quicker than Brandon's. But at the moment, the battle for third place is raging on here as well. We've got Cucumber and Archie here, 3/10 apart as they come over the line into turn 1. Cucumber for the time being holding on ahead of Archie. We've got Youngie and Clen here fighting out over 6th and 7th places. As Clen looking to the inside there into turn 1, a little bit too far away just there. Hickley in the meantime is about a second behind Nobby Bootneck. Jordan has got Jay-Z on the back of him right now. Jay-Z looking to the inside, a little bit too far away there into turn 1. But Brandon here doing the business for the time being. Super Striker though is keeping him honest at this point. Isn't letting him off the hook, that's for sure. So Super Striker here getting closer and closer and closer to the back of Brandon, and this is going to be a move for the leader once again here. So Super Striker coming out with immediate reply there. Down the inside he goes into the chicane, and Brandon could not hold on to that one. What a fight we're seeing here between these two, and I tell you what, it is redeveloping here between these two. Archie in the meantime has moved out of Cucumber up into 3rd place. So around this track you don't even need to be quicker to overtake. You don't need a delta. Not only do you not need a delta, but you don't even need to be quicker. If you've got slower tyres and you've got slower lap times, as long as you're able to stay within the DRS, you have a really good chance of overtaking here. And Super Striker as well, his tyres will only be getting better compared to Brandon's in his final few laps. Brandon there looking to the inside, a little bit too far away, but I was saying throughout the first stint, Brandon on those hard tyres had the advantage. It seems like maybe the hard tyres are a better tyre around this circuit, which is a strange one because you wouldn't think the track temperatures would be that high, but it seems like that they are just working beautifully around this circuit. And for the time being, Super Striker has got this upper hand here as we approach the closing stages here. But Cucumber and Archie still fighting out over 3rd place as well, so we'll have to keep tabs on that battle, as here are the leaders once again. Brandon once again very close here to Super Striker, and he's going to do what he did a couple of laps ago, and he's going to make the move here down this DRS straight towards the chicane. Right, Super Striker defending to the inside, and Brandon's got to get this around the long way here. Super Striker a little bit later on the brakes as they come into the braking zone there. Cuts across him there beautifully, very cleanly. I've got to say there was nothing dirty about that. Super Striker holds on to the lead. Brandon here with the slipstream as they come around the final corner here, over the line to complete lap 19 of the race. With just 6 laps left to go here at Las Vegas. Now Brandon looks to the inside into turn 1, a little bit too far away. He's going to get another dose of DRS here down towards turn 4 in a moment, which could be another chance to move him back up into the lead. But here on lap 20 of this Las Vegas Grand Prix, lap 20 of 25, and we are well into the closing stages now of this race. And here we go, we've got Brandon looking to the outside now. Super Striker powerless to do anything about that one as he swoops around him. Super Striker though got a better exit out of the corner. They're still side by side, and Super Striker swoops back around him there through into turn 5 with a fantastic move, and must have held his breath there as he went around the outside of that left hand bend. But Super Striker there once again in the lead of the race, as these two putting on a fantastic show for us out the front. Cucumber and Archie still fighting over 3rd place. This one's going to go down to the wire, but I reckon that neither of these guys can be on the podium by the end. I reckon it will be Bo who will be taking that one, because he's on quicker tyres at this point. He's got a big delta to these guys. Although we are seeing with Super Striker and Brandon that the hard tyres are working quite well. So who knows at this point? Who knows? But anyway, Brandon once again in the slipstream with the DRS. He's out of the slipstream, he looks to the inside He definitely backed out of that one. He definitely didn't want to be leading there going into the chicane. Whatever, I think he could have made that move, but he didn't want to. And that could be ominous for Super Striker, because we all know how that sprint race went. Led the entire race until that final lap, and then got mugged by, well, looked like he was going to lose second place as well. Ended up getting back into second place, but yeah, almost lost that. But for the time being, it is Super Striker who leads here. Brandon looked to the inside there, a little bit too far away for the time being. As we go back to the battle for third place, looks like Archie's a little bit too far away on Cucumber to make the move into turn 4. Bo still hunting these guys down in the background, bit by bit he's chipping away at these two. There he is going into turn 4. Youngie a little way behind him, P6. Glenn driving a great race here in 7th place. Currently well clear of Nobby Bootneck, who's running in 8th. Hicklin there in P9 ahead of Jay-Z. Jay-Z's got pressure from Jordan as well, so Jordan will be looking to try and fight him a little bit. Yeah, I'm sure in these final few laps of the race. Quimo there in 12th place, well ahead of Meldav. And then you've got Fake Scouser and Murph still going here in this race. But Brandon here, 0.3 of a second behind Super Striker with DRS once again. A little bit too far away into the chicane this time around again. Super Striker there, keeping it very tidy at the moment. As Archie's moved back ahead of Cucumber there into 3rd place down the end of the straight into the chicane. So nicely done there from Archie. As we see Jordan now getting close to the back of Jay-Z. Is Jordan going to be able to nick a point here in this race? He certainly will be able to if he can get ahead of this RB. As he looks to the inside now, the Williams there powers past him. And without any further issue there, Jordan will take P10 here in this race. But Jay-Z, I'm sure, is going to have something to say about that. So this is one I'm not sure, we haven't heard the end of this one just yet. I'll have to come back to them in a second, but back to the two leaders for the time being. Murph there with a 10-second penalty. We can see there a lapped car, the Alpine of must be Fake Scouser there. So Super Striker and Brandon there getting through unscathed. So Brandon here with the DRS is going to look all over the back of Super Striker. He's going to now look to the inside here at the end of the straight into the chicane. And is this going to be job done? Super Striker a little bit later on the brakes there, managing to keep it around the outside, and great driving there between the two of them to not run into each other. And they really did show each other some great respect there going through that part of the track. And Super Striker there clinging onto that position as Cucumbers moved ahead of Archie up into 3rd place once again. These two giving us a great fight. Super Striker on his hard tyres surely is going to have the advantage in these final 3 laps of the race though, because Brandon's done 8 laps on those mediums. We know that after about 10 laps the mediums completely fall apart, so Brandon's tyres have got to be on a bit of a borrowed time at this point. He looks now to the inside, but Super Striker holds firm and is not fazed by that at all. In the background there, Cucumber and Archie still separate by about half a second. Archie a little bit too far away into turn 4. Bo still running in P5, but isn't really closing these guys in. We said before the mediums start the stint off well, but I think that now the hard tyres of Cucumber and Archie are starting to come back at Bo's a little bit, and maybe Bo not able to close the gap as much, if at all, at this stage. Although if they battle, it could definitely bring him back into it. I'd say that Bo's got to keep pushing here. He could still have a chance of a podium, but it's not going to be easy for him at all. So Cucumber there and Archie side by side. Archie on the inside here going into the chicane. and he moves back ahead there. So what a great fight we're seeing between these two, as Brandon here is all over the back of Super Striker here, coming down the start finish straight, looks to the inside into turn one. The Haas car makes the move, and Super Striker can do nothing about that. Had to give him the space there on the inside. These two continue to fight as we see Cucumber all over the back of Archie as well now, also looking to the inside, although he can't follow suit from what we saw from Brandon a few moments ago, and Archie stays in third place. But Super Striker once again now has got to do the chasing here. Does he want to be in second at the beginning of the final lap? Is this part of his strategy here? We saw him obviously lose the win in the sprint race due to being in the lead at the beginning of the final lap, so maybe he's trying to learn a lesson from this and doesn't want to repeat the same mistake again. Brandon seems to have a bit more confidence through those corners, has pulled out a bit of a gap here in the first sector. So has Brandon been looking after those medium tyres, and is he now just dropping the hammer here in these final couple of laps of the race? What a surprise that would be if he is in fact doing that. Has Super Striker got DRS here? I think he might just have DRS. If he doesn't, he could be in big trouble here. He has got DRS, so he is going to hold on to this just about, and Brandon on those medium tyres will be feeling the pace here as we're about to start the final lap of the race, then into the chicane here on lap 24 of the 25. So these two have been pretty much tied at the hip over the course of this race. Brandon started the race on the hard tyres, ran the entire first stint with Super Striker, came in to the pits a few laps after him. Obviously Super Striker managed to get the undercut, it was on fresh tyres for a few laps, came out with a bit of a lead. Brandon came out of the pits 3 seconds behind Super Striker, reeled that gap down on his fresh medium tyres, then seemed to stagnate a little bit whilst they were battling. Super Striker appeared to take the upper hand a couple of laps ago, but at this stage it seems like maybe Brandon is having a bit of a second wind with these tyres, and I've theorised that potentially he could have been looking after them over the last few laps, and maybe now has decided to go and take that final bit of life out of them in this final couple of laps. But Brandon has the advantage here. Super Striker's got to really fight for this one if he wants to win the race. He took a nice line there through the chicane. Is he, although saying that, Super Striker's lost a bit of time here again through this first sector. Once again, we saw in the previous lap, the gap's 0.6 of a second at the moment. Super Striker needs to be a little bit closer than that if he wants to make the move, I think, going into the chicane. It's going to be all down to this final long straight going into the chicane. This is going to be pivotal, this exit out of this corner here. Super Striker got a good exit, decent enough. He's going to have the slipstream now. It's going to be very tight here into the chicane, I can tell you that. It's going to be very, very close indeed. Brandon currently has the lead. 0.4 of a second is the gap as they now come into the DRS zone. Here comes Super Striker. Is it going to be enough for him? As he's using up the last bit of his ERS, he's a little bit too far away, and he might have to set up a second here. Oh, as Brandon goes deep into the chicane, that could have cost him the win. Now Super Striker's going to be pretty much on his rear end here as we see the lap car getting well out of the way, and it's going to be a drag to the line, but Super Striker with the momentum around the outside, I think he's going to do it. He is going to do it. Super Striker takes the win by 0.02 of a second. What a battle that was. Super Striker mugging Matt Brandon right at the end. What a fight that was. Super Striker wins ahead of Brandon second. Cucumber is going to come around to take the final podium place here ahead of Archie and Bo, with Youngie, who's going to finish this one in P6 in a moment, as there he is coming over the line now. Youngie 6th place, a few seconds ahead of Nobby Bootneck, who's going to come over in 7th place. There's Clen over in 8th. Solid job from Clen here tonight. The Pebble sector champion, as Hicklin there actually gets 8th on the penalties there ahead of Clen, who takes P9. Jordan over to take the final point with Jay-Z in 11th. What was that voice crack? Quimo is going to be the last driver on the lead lap in a few moments, with Fake Scouser and Murph finishing the race a lap down. Meldav there crashed out on the final lap of the race. Corey had crashed out a long way before that. But Quimo will be the last driver of the line, and there he is to complete the classification here tonight at Las Vegas. But what a fight that was. What a battle between Super Striker. What a battle that was. With Super Striker there taking that win right at the end of the race. And yeah, phenomenal stuff there. But I tell you what, Brandon gave it absolutely everything, and would have been a deserved winner of that race if he had managed it. But it is what it is. Brandon there taking a win in the sprint race, couldn't quite make it the double. Super Striker getting his revenge on that last lap move in the sprint race and doing the switcheroo there for the Grand Prix. Obviously the Grand Prix coming with more points, so Super Striker there getting the most points haul from tonight. Brandon second most points, Cucumber the third most points, and incidentally they were both the podium finishers for both races as well. Archie came close to the podium in that Grand Prix but wasn't quite able to get Cucumber in the end, only just finished ahead of Bo there for fourth place, so it was pretty tight there between those two coming over the line. But that is that, guys, for Red Arrows here this week, and make sure you join us next week for the penultimate round of the season. 2 rounds left here for the Red Arrows F1 League, 8:15 PM UK time next week. As always, we'll see you then. Take it easy and good night.